Today, I show you how to modify your drum kit to keep everybody's eyes and ears happy on your next music video shoot. Man, I love shooting music videos. Honestly, some of the best memories that I have of my career have been the videos that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of. Whether it was the time that we made a mess in a historic old library, the time we hung our singer from the roof and spun him around, or most recently, shooting in a haunted insane asylum from the 1800s. I posted that clip on my Instagram after the shoot, and honestly, I was kind of inundated with comments and DMs from you guys asking like, dude, those drums and those cymbals, like, how did you get them to sound so quiet? I need this for my next shoot. This is something that I really struggle with. And it got me thinking like, man, not only do we have to worry about the volume of our instrument on a shoot as drummers, but there's a bunch of other pitfalls that we can run into that can completely derail things if we're not careful. And in the 15 or so videos that I've been a part of in my career, I've certainly run into all of them. So I wanted to make this video to kind of demystify some of the stuff, offer some suggestions and tips, and hopefully save you guys a lot of pain on your next music video shoot. So before we break down some of the most common issues and how to solve them, if you've done a few music videos before and you're really ready to go with this stuff, you know how these things work, but you want to know exactly what I did to my kit in that clip, there's a timestamp down below, head to that, you can bypass all this talking. I'd highly recommend watching the rest of the video, but if you just want to get to the good stuff, off you go. So let's get into troubleshooting some of the scenarios that you might find yourself in. Let's talk about location first. To me, that's the first most important thing to figure out, because the location is everything to a music video. It's the drama, it's the storytelling, it's the environment that you're in. It's so much a part of what sells a video and what makes the band look cool. This is obviously something that you have to think about, especially because you're gonna be there with your drum kit. And that's where we gotta start thinking about the logistics. Where is it? How far away is the nearest car park? How much gear are you bringing? How big is the space and how much noise can we make? So if the car park for a location is like 15 minutes away and I have to bring my drums through a massive forest or, up a million flights of stairs or something, if I have a huge drum kit with more stands than a drum shop, that's gonna be a massive problem because we might not have that long of an amount of time to be in there to accommodate for me walking up and down some stairs or trekking in and out of a forest or God knows what. So you need to think smart about what you're doing. Like, how much do you actually need to bring to make this video work? Now, to give a real world example, I actually shot a music video with my band just the other day and we were stuck in the back of a moving truck. I can't say too much about why. That will be revealed when the video drops, so make sure you subscribe to my band's YouTube channel to see that. But suffice to say, there wasn't a lot of room in there. Now, if I brought my usual kit like you see behind me with a stack of cymbals and 3 different toms and like whatever else, I would have taken up so much room in that space that there wouldn't have been enough room for the other guys and the other equipment and the cameras. So if you're one of those people who have a massive drum kit and you're gonna shoot in some remote location, consider downsizing a few of those things. It's gonna make life a lot easier for everyone. Now, the next issue to consider that really goes hand in hand with location is production volume. So I'm not just talking about the volume of the drum set, although that's a factor and we will get to it. I'm thinking more volume of playback, for example, because let's face it, these beautiful, visually stunning environments that we choose to set up our music videos in aren't always rated to deal with the same decibel output that our rehearsal rooms or our live music venues are. So you're going to be constrained by the place that you're in shooting this video as to how loud you can listen to that playback track. Now, the ideal thing is to be able to crank a PA or something loud enough that everyone, including the drummer, can hear and play along. And if you've got multiple band members in the same shot, you can play along together and everyone's in sync. But unfortunately, if you're in a busy suburban area with a bunch of neighbors or businesses nearby, or you've snuck into some abandoned warehouse and you don't want someone calling the cops and getting the shoot shut down, you might need to think of something a little bit more delicate. And one thing I would recommend is talking to your director and getting a copy of the play along track that they're going to be using for the rest of the shoot, and just bringing your phone and bringing your in-ears and playing along with that. Now, sometimes that's going to cause issues if you're going to have multiple members in the same shot because they're going to want to hear what's going on. But if they know their parts well enough and they can play along with you without hearing it, that can be a really nice solution to otherwise what is a pretty awkward situation if you're trying to keep the noise down and keep that awesome live drum set vibe in the music video. Now, an extra little bonus tip that really should go without saying, but I feel I need to add it anyway. Make sure you've practiced your parts. There is nothing more frustrating than working with a band that isn't well prepared, much in the same way that you would going into a recording studio to actually record your music in the first place. When you're recording video, you need that same level of confidence in everything, and it makes the shoot go much quicker. And again, if you're working to a limited time frame, or you're just trying to save the editor a bunch of headaches and not give them 6 times as many files because you needed to keep redoing the same shot because the drummer kept missing a certain fill that they hadn't rehearsed, it saves everyone a lot of time and headaches. And most importantly, when you get your edit back, you don't want to have to go back for more and more costly revisions because they didn't use the right clip of you playing the right fill there, because they're not a drummer and they don't know what the right fill is. They're relying on you to play the right thing at the right time so that this issue doesn't happen in the first place. So please practice your parts. Everything will go smoother if you do that. And finally, the part you've been waiting for. Let's quiet down those drums, shall we? Let's give that poor director who's holding that camera 2 inches away from your favorite right side explosion crash the chance to retain their hearing, the chance to hear their daughter's first words, shall we? Now, when it comes to the drum shells, this is easy because mesh heads are everywhere nowadays. And in my opinion, the Remo Silent Stroke is the perfect one for this because it looks like a white coated head on film. It looks totally normal unless you have like some crazy macro lens and you're zooming in on it and getting like some insane detailed shot. Okay, maybe you might want to bring a stunt drum that has a regular head on it. But if you're just shooting from a regular distance, these things look like heads. There's no question about it, and they make virtually no noise. They're perfect for this application. Now, when it comes to the bass drum, you can of course just buy a mesh head. That's easy, it gets the job done, but there's even a simpler solution. Just take the beaters out of your pedals, because let's face it, most of the time you're going to be filmed from the front. So while you might see your leg moving or even your foot bouncing if it's maybe slightly from the side, you don't often see the bass drum beater striking the bass drum head. Now, if there are going to be those sorts of close-up shots where you do see that, or maybe you're being shot from behind or on the side, then the mesh head is definitely the answer. But this would be a conversation that you could have with your director ahead of time to find out if that's going to be a shot that's in their list. Now let's talk about the trickier one, the cymbals. These are more difficult because we want them to bend and flex and react as they normally would on camera, because the cymbals are a really interesting part of the drum set. They're the thing that you can kind of visually see is bending and flexing under the drummer's power and will, and I think that that's a huge part of the energy and the visual component of the drum set. So how do we retain that and reduce the volume? Well, one of the ways that we used to do this is by double stacking cymbals. But the problem with this is that then you've got 2 heavy cymbals stacked on top of each other and they don't move very well. They don't flex and bend like you would want them to. So they look a little stiff under camera, and as a result, you lose a bit of that energy. And the other factor is you got to have 2 sets of cymbals. And if you're going to wail on them for that length of time, you might crack them because they can't exactly bend and do anything with all that force that you're putting into them. So to me, I've never really seen that as a particularly good solution to this. Now, you could use low volume cymbals like the Zildjian L80, but unlike the mesh heads that are a tight woven mesh, you can't really see the holes from a distance, whereas with the cymbals you can. So again, to me, these aren't really an option. So where does that leave us? Do we just tape the crap out of the cymbals and call it a day? Well, we've all seen those music videos where there's a bunch of cymbals with the big square of black gaff under it, and to me, that kind of breaks the illusion. As a drummer, I don't want to be watching a music video and going like, oh look, there's something that they did to curb this problem in a music video. I just want to watch the video and be transfixed by what's going on and be caught up in the illusion that everything that I'm watching is actually happening, even though I know it's not. So what's my version of this? Clear packing tape. This is all you need. Honestly, I've been using this trick for years, and every video that I'm a part of, I watch the footage back, and unless you're really, really looking for it, you can't tell. If you apply enough of this underneath the bottom side of the cymbal and do as many layers as necessary to get that volume down to a level, you're going to retain the nice movement and flex of the cymbal, but bring it down to a tolerable level like you heard in the opening clip. When it comes to the hi-hat, I have a much better method than just simply layering a bunch of tape over the top of it. What we're going to do is grab a rag, fold it into quarters and cut the inside corner. This gives us a hole to slide it over the rod and on top of the cymbal. Fold the corners in and then apply enough tape to hold it in position. And that's it. Neaten up the edges with a knife and then repeat on the other cymbal. With this technique, we are taking advantage of the fact that the hi-hats are two cymbals sandwiched together and essentially hiding the rags on the inside. Now, unless you have your hi-hats incredibly wide during this shoot, you will not see these rags, and it actually works a lot better at muffling the sound down, and it's a lot faster to put together than 3 or 4 layers of tape on a large cymbal. Now here's a shot from a clip I did a number of years ago where you can see the underside of the cymbal in slow motion. You be the judge as to whether this is something that breaks the illusion more or less than the other options I've mentioned. Now I can already hear some of you saying, "Oh, but this will leave residue all over my cymbals. Isn't this a terrible suggestion?" Well, first of all, calm down. They're just cymbals. Remember that we hit them with sticks. And second of all, any residue that's left on is easy to clean off. I actually left these cymbals to bake in the Australian heat in my car for like 5 days after the shoot because I couldn't be bothered cleaning them off. And this is all that was left. It cleaned off fine with just a little bit of surface spray and a microfiber cloth. This took me about 10 minutes to clean all the cymbals. So it's no big deal. So that's it. Hopefully that helps you out in your next music video. If you got something out of this, hit the like button, leave me a comment and subscribe. It goes a long way to making sure this video gets out to those who need to see it. And if you'd like to support the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you go and check out my Patreon page. It's only $5 USD a month and you get access to a bunch of extra videos, extra content, and you get access to all the drum samples that I take when I shoot my various like tone chasing videos. So if that sounds good to you, check it out. Otherwise, see you on the next one.